5 reasons why people don't want to believe that they have been working with false light entities. Hi, everybody. My name is Maya Zahira with PsychicProtectionSanctuary.com. And I've already shared with you what our topic is going to be for this mini lesson. But before I get into these 5 reasons, I want to give you a really quick announcement. It's very exciting. So I've just recently started writing my 4th book. So literally just last week, just started, and it's going very steadily. And that book is all about false light. I'm not going to share the title yet or all the details, but it is going to be a really, really good book. So, of course, it takes several months. Well, who knows? I think this one might go fast, but it's going to take at least a few months, and then it will be up on Amazon along with my other books. So that's a little exciting announcement there for you. Now let's get to the 5 reasons why people don't want to believe that they have been working with false light entities. Of course, I want to make sure that we define false light entities. If you've been following my work for a while, you already know exactly what we're talking about. But if you're new, let's just define this really quickly. A false light entity is a term that's used for any dark, negative, non-beneficial being, entity, spirit, etc., any non-beneficial being that is pretending to be a being of light. Okay, so this is any kind of being that is good at shape-shifting, and it's a negative, and any type of negative entity that's pretending to be an angel, a spirit guide, religious figures, ascended masters, benevolent aliens, and so on and so forth. So there are actually certain kinds of entities that do tend to fall into this category that are really good at shape-shifting. I'm not going to go into that today, but let's talk about the 5 reasons why people don't want to believe that the beings that they've been working with could possibly be false light. Because I've been talking about false light for a number of years now, and I notice that people will hear me, like I can tell that they hear what I'm saying. They acknowledge, oh, yes, false light is a problem. We need to be discerning about the spiritual beings that we're working with. But there's this other thing that's going on in their brain where they automatically assume that it doesn't apply to them. Like, oh, I would never be fooled by something like that. And so they just don't even consider that they could be working with false light entities unknowingly, or they're blocking themselves from acknowledging it. And here's why. Okay, so by the way, this could apply to you, or if you're already really discerning about false light, this could apply to spiritual teachers that you're trying to reach out to work with, and they don't want to see what it is that they don't want to see the truth of what they're really working with. So this applies to everybody. So 5 reasons. The first reason is ignorance is bliss. What I mean by that is that people would rather stay in their like love and light, fluffy, oh, it's so fun to be working with all these beings that are surrounding me and channeling messages through me, and this just feels so good and it's so pleasant, because false light entities, they actually emit a spiritual anesthetic that causes feelings of bliss, feelings of ecstasy. So ignorance is bliss. It feels better to not see the truth. The truth is unpleasant, so let's not look at it. Let's not acknowledge it. The second reason is ego. People don't want to admit that they're wrong. And this is especially the case when the person in question is a spiritual healer, a spiritual leader, spiritual teacher, spiritual thought leader. Their ego doesn't want them to believe that they could have possibly been wrong about the beings that they thought they were working with. And then related to that is reason number 3, and this has to do with income and fame and followers. So if that person is earning their income from their spiritual work, they certainly are going to have a lot of blocks to acknowledging what it is that they've really been working with, because it could hinder their income. It could reduce their followers if they're no longer channeling messages from the Council of Yaya or whatever that's actually false light entities. If they're no longer doing that, then they don't have all the followers. And the reality, the hard reality, or it's hard for me, maybe it's easy for everyone else, but the hard reality is that false light channelings, working with false light entities, it's so blissful and lovely, even though it's a charade. It's so blissful and lovely that it is more popular than ever. There's so many channelers channeling false light messages from false light entities. All these entities having a great time fooling all these people. It's just insane. And so there's all these people that are making a boatload of money off of this trendiness of channeling and working with beings without proper discernment. So income, followers, and fame is the third reason why people don't want to believe that they have been working with false light. Number 4 is the human characteristic of cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance. So cognitive dissonance means if a person is presented with information that's outside of their comfort zone or their beliefs, their current belief system, it's like their brain wants to keep them feeling safe. So the brain cannot see what the truth is. The brain tries to hold on to the old beliefs that are comfortable. So that's this human trait, this human tendency toward cognitive dissonance. And the 5th, perhaps most important reason why people don't want to believe that they're being, that they've been working with false light entities is that false light entities are extremely tricky. They are master tricksters. In my introduction of my book, I was writing a story about a woman that I was on Zoom with. This is not a client, this is a colleague. And I very gently mentioned the possibility that there might be a trickster entity working with her. Nowadays, I try not to give unsolicited advice because people don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear, like, I could see false light entities so easily, but I usually don't point it out to people because it's like, it just shuts the door. It creates a wall between us. They can't hear what I'm saying. But this was interfering with our Zoom call, this entity. So that's why I brought it up. I was like, let's consider that this could be an issue. And so she turned to the entity, the false light entity, and asked it, are you authentic or are you a false light entity? And guess what it told her? It told her that it was authentic. It said, I am the real Archangel Michael. And I saw this whole thing and I was like, wow, like the I have so many emotions about that story. When I wrote it, when I wrote that paragraph and I reread it, I couldn't help but laugh. I was laughing because I was like, this is so crazy. False light entities are so tricky. And yes, that story is serious, but it was like, this is so insane. I can't help but laugh because it's so crazy. False light entities are so tricky that, like, you know, if you do a simple thing like say, well, if you're not real and authentic, you need to leave now, or, you know, whatever boundaries people think that they can set. And false light entities are not going to be like, oh, she's setting this boundary and I need to listen to it. Sometimes they will show their true selves if you set a boundary, but a lot of times they just blow you off and they just get even better at pretending. So the false light entities are extremely tricky. Now, I will close out this video because I've basically just given you this little bit of information, and there's so much more that you need. Like, you might be watching this and going, well, I want to make sure that whatever energies or entities I'm working with are genuine. And this also goes for people who are practicing Christianity, religious figures, calling in Jesus, calling in the archangels, calling in Mary. False light shows up everywhere. This is when I first became aware of false light, when I had my first run-in with a major false light entity, and it was like getting hit by a 2x4 across my head. I thought that it was just in the New Age. I thought it was just all the channelers that were channeling false messages. And that's true. There's a ton of false light in New Age, but New Age false light entities, they don't care what religion you're practicing, or if you're New Age or spiritual or Christian or Buddhist, or like, I've literally seen false light show up in any number of religious or spiritual practices. So anyway, I don't want to leave you with like not enough information, but this is a mini lesson. This is to get you started thinking. But because now your wheels are turning and you're thinking, oh, okay, I want to be more discerning. Let me just leave you with a couple of resources in case you want to go deeper before my next book is out, because it's going to take a few months. All right, so if you want to go deeper, there's a chapter on false light in my second book, the Psychic Attack Sourcebook. And that will give you all of the basics that you need for how to identify a false light entity, the different types of beings that typically pretend to be beings of light, and what to do. So it'll help get you started. And then keep an eye out for the new book that is 100% all about false light. So I hope you find this information helpful. You can definitely help out with the algorithm by liking and commenting and subscribing. So please do that now. I would love to hear your thoughts on false light or any of the 5 reasons. This is not an exhaustive list, these 5 reasons, whatever other reasons that pop into your mind of why people don't want to believe in false light. Be sure to share those in the comments. So once again, thank you so much for watching. And as always, I'm sending you all my love.